Hey y'all, welcome to the Filling Station. It's a new day, another opportunity to either make money in this market or to just learn from the market. But first, let me give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth. And yes, the stock market is just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. But if you could please like, share, subscribe, y'all. We learn and we grow together. With that being said, let's get started. So we are looking at the SPY, and as you can see, we have made a new all-time high, 629.80. Looks as if we're trading in this little gathering spot, as I like to say, the consolidation area, right? So where are the trouble places? Support as of now, 628.40. Resistance somewhere around the 628.79. Should we break that level, we can come back and retest this 629.14. And breaking that brings us back to this new high of 629.80. Can we break through this and go higher? I say absolutely, right? Now, back to the downside. Let's say we lose support here at 628.40. We have the ATR trail and stop at 628.12. As you can see, we bounce from this area here, so we could very well continue to the downside. However, that 50 EMA and a level that I have marked right there at the 627.89, I like to see that, where that 50 EMA and the level that we have marked. Simple support and resistance, y'all. So the level that we're talking about at 627.89, should we break that level, 627.43 could be a support area. Should we break that 626.85 and breaking that 626.51, should we break that level, 626.30, and again here at 625.88, breaking the 625.88, we could very well come back to around the 625.45, and breaking that brings us to the 200 EMA around the 625.16. Now breaking that, we could very well come back to 624.90 and find support. So breaking that level, there's 624.39 and a few layers here at that 624. So breaking that 624, we can come back to the 623.64. So if the SPY is something that you trade today, y'all know I say it often, trade carefully. Why? Because in this market, anything is possible. Nothing is guaranteed. So we are now looking at Tesla. Tesla closed at 319.41, and what's interesting is we had a 324.65 high on yesterday, only to come down to a 317.05 low. Looks like we tried to bounce from there and just trade sideways, or as I like to say, we created a gathering spot, right? So where are the trouble places for Tesla as of now? Support is around the 320.64 area. Resistance is here around the 321.47. So it looks like we're trying to break out of a gathering spot. Now, to the upside, we could possibly have trouble again, 321.75. Now, should we break that level, the ATR trailing stop is at the 322.36, which is right there again at a level that we have marked, 322.37. So that's a resistance area for us now. Should we break that, we could possibly have trouble again, 322.60, 322.84, 323.6, let's say 323.36, 323.54, 323.74. So in my opinion, this is going to be a few layers of resistance for Tesla around that 323.36 area up to the 323.74. Now, should we break that level, 324.15 could be a resistance area, 324.52, 324.80, breaking that 324.80, we're back to 325.19, 325.36, or 325.66. All of those are areas of resistance for Tesla. So if Tesla is something that you trade, I say it so often, Tesla does what Tesla does. So just trade carefully, mark your levels, and once it goes against your Y, get out. So let's look at Tesla to the downside. Let's say we break under the 320.64. Let's see if I can make this a little, there we are. Under the 320.64 area, we can come back to 320.30. That is this area here. Now breaking that brings us back to 320.04. And should we lose that 320.04 area, we've come back down to the 319.79, which is this area that we've been trading in, right? 319.79. Should we break that? 319.62, not very far away. However, breaking that brings us back to around the 319 319.19. If we break that 319.19, we can come back to 318.85, and breaking that 318.26 is here. Should we break that level, we could very well come back to 317.93, and breaking that 317.61. Breaking at 317.61, we have this low here of 317.06, which is not far from the 200 EMA at the 316.92. So if Tesla is something that you trade today, I say it often, y'all, trade carefully. Anything is possible in this market, right? So we are now looking at AMD, and we closed at 160.41. It too seems to be trading sideways. Is it setting us up for something? Is the market setting us up for something, right? That's something to be mindful of. Right now, the support for AMD is around the 160.07. Resistance, we can say, is here at the 160.39. Should we break that level, 160.58, 160.75, 161.02, breaking that 161.02, you have the ATR trailing stop at that 161.35, which is right in the level that we have marked here, around the 161.34. That's interesting, right? So in my opinion, this could be strong resistance for AMD. Again, not financial advice. So breaking that 161.35, we could possibly have trouble again somewhere around the 161.69. Should we break that level, 161.97, and again at 162.32. So if AMD is something that you trade today, those are possible areas of resistance or rejection to the upside. Now, to the downside, under 160.07, we could very well come back to this 159.87 area. Breaking that brings us back to the 159.52, and breaking that 159.18. We stayed here for a while on yesterday, right? So that 159.18, should we break that, we could very well come back to 158.90, and breaking that back to the 158.68, losing that area of support 158.50, and breaking that level 158.23, losing that area or breaking through that level 157.80. Let me make sure I have that. That's 157.60. So under 157.60 for AMD today, there's the next level that I have at 157.31. So again, if AMD is something that you trade today, I say mark your levels, and once it goes against your why, get out so that we can live to trade another day, right? So we are now looking at Meta. We closed at 701.41, and it too is creating this little gathering spot, as I like to say, right? So support is around this level of 701.91. We can say resistance 703.51. Now, should we break that 703.51, we could possibly have trouble 704.52. Breaking that 705.29 is the ATR trailing stop, and y'all see the level that I have marked here at 705.50. I say it often, it is so important that we mark our levels of support and resistance, right? Even if we didn't use the indicators. So I wanted to say that. Now, 705.29 today for Meta. Should we break that, we could possibly have trouble again, 706.48, and breaking that level, we could possibly have trouble 708.27. The 200 EMA, we can use that as a level of resistance at 709.32, and breaking that 709.86, breaking that level 711.27 and 712.09. So if Meta is something that you trade today, I say trade carefully. Now, should we break under the 701.91, we have $700.99. Breaking that level, we can come back to $700.44, not very far away. Now, should we break that, 699.51, 699.02, 698.27, and again 696.81. Breaking that 696.81 for Meta today, 695.25. And if we break that 695.25, we can come back to this level, 694.21. So again, if Meta is something that you trade today, y'all, I say it often, trade carefully. Mark your levels and trade what you see. Make sure you have the, a plan going into your trade. Let's say that, right? So we are now looking at NVDA, and I do need to mark because we have made a new high. Looks as if here the 174.47 has been a high for us here. So I need to remember that. We closed at 173, pre-market high 174.17. I keep wanting to say 147. It is 174.17. 2217. So it is creating a gathering spot or a zone that we have been trading in. Resistance, we can say, is that 174.17, which is the high or the low here of 173.48. So back to the downside, we could find support at 173.35, 173.04, again here at 172.84. Should we lose that level, 172.35, and breaking that level brings us back to 171.79. Breaking that level for NVIDIA today, 171.45 could be a support area. Losing that area, 170.92, and should we break that, we see the 200 EMA is around the 170.54. So breaking that 170.54, we have 169.88. So 169.88 could be a support area for NVIDIA. And I said often, y'all, in this market, anything is possible. Nothing is guaranteed. Now, we do have a few inside day candles, and what I like to mark those, I like to look at those. Why? Because it kind of helps build our watch list, and it kind of gives us a possible target, meaning if it should break above this level or below this level, this is the possible target. So Apple, AAPL, is on the list today. Should we break this level here of 211.90, upside target for Apple today, 212.52. Now to the downside, under 209.47, we have a downside target of 208.70. And as you can see, we've already tried to bounce from this area here. So are we going to bounce to go up or come back and break through? That's something to be mindful of. So Apple is an inside day candle. So if that's something that you trade, I say trade carefully. Now Amazon, AMZN, is an inside day candle above this level of 224.53. We have an upside target 226.09. To the downside, under 222.49, downside target 222.19. So if Amazon is something that you trade today, it is an inside day candle. Carnival Cruise Lines have already exceeded the target for today pre-market. Above the 29.52, we have 29.52 as the target, and as you can see, we've made a pre-market high of 29.60 here. So back to the downside, under 28.86, should we break that to the downside, 28.83 is the target. Keep in mind, it could move in either direction, and I say that often. I say it, y'all, in this market, anything is possible. Nothing is guaranteed, right? Walmart is next on the list as an inside day candle above $95.62, upside target 95.85. Now to the downside, under 94.89, we have a downside target today for Walmart at $94.59. So if Walmart is something that you trade today, I say it so often, y'all, trade carefully. Why? Because anything is possible in this market. So I wanted to go and see where Google is breaking through today. We broke out of a gathering spot, and it seems like we've made a high here of 136.31. Definitely that's Alphabet Inc. C. So if that's something that you trade today, you know, right now the resistance is that 186.31. The gathering spot that we were trading in, so the support area, we can use that coming back to the downside as a support, 185.34, and then at the 185.10, breaking that level, we could very well come back to the 184.71 area, which puts us back in this zone here. Now should we break that, let's look and see where we can find some support for Google, Alphabet Inc. C, somewhere around this level, 184.18. So if that's something that you trade today, those are kind of possible areas of support for Google, Alphabet Inc. C. I wanted to look at SOFI just to see where we are. SOFI, we closed at 22.09. As you see here, we made a high of 22.45. I like to mark those, and it too seemed to be trading in this little gathering spot area here. So I kind of need to mark my levels. Support is around somewhere around the 22.31. Now back to the downside, we could very well come back to this area. Let's say 22.19 and find support. I kind of draw my line, and then I want to see how many times we can touch that line. So 22.19 could be support for SOFI today. Back to the downside, and if we should break that level, I would watch somewhere around the 22.10. That could be a support area for us, and as you can see, that is where our ATR trailing stop is, and I just marked the low of this body here, and then, you know, seeing what's actually touching my line. So I wanted to point that out today. today. So if SOFI is something that you trade today, I say trade carefully, y'all. Make sure you understand have a plan before you go into the trade, knowing when to get in and when to get out, and making sure you have the discipline to get in at the right time, out at the right time. Trading is not difficult. It's making sure that you understand the language and you have the discipline to execute your plan. So again, this is what I see when I look at the market, y'all. There's so many different ways to trade the market, and what's challenging again is trying to figure out the strategy that works best for you and for you to have the discipline to execute that plan. So I hope that everyone have a very profitable and a very productive day. Again, if you could please like, share, subscribe, y'all. We learn and we grow together. With that being said, be blessed as well as a blessing unto others. Until next time.